You might not think it from this picture, but for the last 15, 20, 30 years of my life, I've had no real clue what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that I love skateboarding. I grew up skateboarding. I skateboarded for 20 years. I still skate. I also love drinking. Consumption of fine beverages is a big part of my life. So when I realized that I couldn't turn pro at one, I decided prudently that it was probably a good idea to turn pro at the other. I also worked in restaurants for 20 years of my life. It's the only work that I've ever known, really. It played havoc with my education. I only really remember going to high school to buy weed. And when it came time for me to get kicked out of my third high school, my dad said, go pick a school, go away. And so I picked the farthest school I possibly could. This is the University of Cape Town in South Africa. I attended here the year that Nelson Mandela was elected president. It was a fascinating experience. I learned a lot about wine, racism, barbecues, and how to observe people. I also I did this map by hand. Everyone else, I was studying history. I wanted to be a historian so I could seduce undergraduate women for the rest of my life. This is over 1,000 place names on this list. I'm sure there's more places on this map than there actually are in Africa. So armed with that degree, what did I do? I went back to working in restaurants when I came back to Canada. But I did learn how to write, and or at least I think I did. I went back to the restaurant business. I started a website called Waiter Blog, which is about my life in the restaurant business. I sold that. I got another one. I sold that. Became a .com thousandaire, as my wife likes to call it. And started Scout. Scout is kind of like a CNN of the restaurant business. If there's a restaurant opening, we'll tell you about it like months in advance. But it's not just one-dimensional. We think that people who are in the restaurant business are interested in more than just restaurants. So there's art, there's design, there's architecture, film, video. But I love the restaurant business. Like I said, it's all I've ever known. There's a great passion for it in the city. It's one of the best food cities in the world. Food and Wine said so. So I counts for something. When you're in this business, you kind of resign yourself to being poor. And since I'm a writer, it's sort of doubly so. It's that cubed. But there's so much going on in the city. These are two guys who are opening a restaurant right now. They're delayed about 3 months, but over 200 restaurants have opened in the last 5 years that are worthy of note, that I've been excited about. It goes to show you what kind of city we've got. It doesn't mean that we're not without our villains. Every restaurant's got a story. Every story's got a villain. Sorry, man. City Hall, it's kind of a nightmare. Like I said, we're one of the best food cities in the world. This is the only thing in our way to being probably the best food city in the world. Right now, City Hall has got a law in the books that says this man, in his 50th wedding anniversary, can't go out for dinner with his wife, spend $90 a head for both of them, and then buy a Brunello de Montalcino 94, which costs $300. It's illegal because of this new 50-50 rule that the city's trying to institute right now. So go ahead, phone City Hall after this if you like. It's a bit of a disaster. We're all freaking out. We're all going to die. These are my kids. That's Alex and James, and these are chickens. And the City Hall did allow us to have chickens in our own backyard, so kudos for that. That's this year. But these chickens are actually great because these are grown at the only farm within the city limits. This is UBC Farm. Those eggs are at Main City Grill. It's the only place that you can get eggs from within the city. These are a pair of farmers' hands. Met this guy. He's a beef farmer. I met him in Tofino. It's just, we've got such a great food city, food town, because of our relationship with our own farmers, our producers, our artists, cheesemakers, and so on. Our chefs, we've got some of the greatest chefs in Canada right now are in British Columbia, because we've got this whole generation who are trained by very able men and women who have a passion for their own backyard. And it's really exciting to be in my position to actually go out and test drive what they do for a living. And I'm so, this is the one thing that I'm really blessed with beyond my family is just, this sort of thing. This is actually in Pemberton this summer. That's James Walt, chef at Araxi. And these are people who paid to come and sit with the winemaker who made the wine that's being poured, the person who made who grew the potatoes, raised the beef that's being served. This is Steve Johansson. I went fishing with this guy. This is a spot prawn. And spot prawns are wonderful because nobody ever knew about them prior to 4 years ago, but really, spot prawns, they're a great product, and we ship them all to Asia, and they buy them top dollar, and then we would get all of Thailand and Vietnam's cheap-ass, the worst shit of Europe prawns, and we'd put them on our menus. But now, it's like this big trans-Pacific prawn catastrophe. And now, we've got this great chefs band together with a guy like Steve Johansson, whom we've got the Spot Prawn Festival, where we celebrate what is local in our waters. In this town, our chefs aren't competitors. They're part of a community. I took this photo, I couldn't believe it. There's Rob Feeney, Nico Shermans, you see Pojo, fellows from Lumiere, Rob Clark, Thomas Haas, Vikram Vidge, Michelle Jacob. They're all friends. They're all part of something called the Chef's Table Society of British Columbia. I sit on the board and of that society and edited this book. It's just in your bookstores this week. It's got 70 recipes, or 120 recipes from British Columbia's best chefs. And we all did it volunteer. There's no money. All the money that is raised goes back to the next generation of chefs in the form of bursaries. This is my last little bit. Glad I'm last, because I get to remind you that we've got a very rich and vibrant restaurant community here. And we've also got a bunch of restaurant chains that value short skirts and big boobs and that sort of thing. Support local, support your local restaurateur.